Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and this is day 19 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be rabbit, and today is going to be a shoulders and arms training routine. And the theme for today's workout is going to be assisted PNF stretching. So right now, I'm going to be demonstrating some more assisted PNF stretches. Now let's get started. And while we were resting, it is time to move on to the theme of today's video, and that is assisted PNF stretching. And this is one of my favorites. This is something that I've been using ever since 2010, and I found that it has given me some of the best results with regard to releasing the psoas. This right over here is going to be a modification of the Thomas test. And the way that it works is you are going to have a client in a supine position on the table. And when you are actually performing this on an actual patient, you would want the gluteal fold or the ischial tuberosities right at the edge of the table. So you would want them right at the crease. You wouldn't want them up this high, but for Johnny, if I put Johnny's gluteal fold at the table, his hips are going to fall out of their sockets. So for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to be having him a little bit higher up on the bench. But if you are performing this on an actual patient, just remember to bring the gluteal fold down to the edge of the table. What we would want to do first, just to get the hips a little bit lubricated and build up some of that synovial fluid, is we would want to alternate between flexion and extension. So you would take both legs and you would go into flexion and extension and just alternate them a few times. Then once you've done that, what you would want to do is take the non-working limb and you are going to place that on your chest. What this is going to do is this is going to allow to maintain the pelvis in retroversion. And by maintaining the pelvis in retroversion, we're going to be able to get deeper into the stretch when we actually get into the modified Thomas. Then with the working leg, what we would want to do is we are going to take our inner thigh and we are going to drape it over the femur. And then with our ankle, we want to wrap our ankle around the patient's mid-ankle. So the bottom of your tibia, it should be wrapped around the medial malleolus of the ankle of the patient. Then from this position right over here, what you would instruct the patient to do is just inhale and press up, and they would press up, and then exhale, relax, and then you just sink deeper down into the stretch. Then from there, you would want to take them out into abduction a little bit so that you're taking them away from the table. Then you would instruct them, now I want you to bring your knee toward the inside. They would contract, go into abduction, and then on the exhale, they would relax, and you would just lean out and take them further into abduction. Then the next component, we're going to get into the rotation now. So what we want to do is induce medial rotation of the femur. So with our foot, we're going to go ahead and glide them into medial rotation by rotating their foot out. So we want their ankle outside of the femur. And then we would instruct them, push your heel into my foot. And they would go into lateral rotation by pushing the foot into your foot. And then on the final pass, what we would want to do is combine all three motions. Then you would instruct them, I want you to bring your knee up to the sky, bring your leg in toward the midline, and push your heel into my foot. So they would do all of those things. They would go into flexion, adduction, and lateral rotation. And then after, on the exhale, you would go deeper into extension by pushing down on the femur and bringing it down to the ground, further into abduction by bringing the leg out, and further into medial rotation by kicking that foot out. Then what you would do is you would give the legs another little bit more of flexion and extension just to help lubricate the joint once again. And then you would do the same thing on the opposite side. So you would just take the opposite limb and you would place the limb on your chest once again, and you would perform the exact same thing on the other side. With regard to this stretch right over here, this isn't one of the PNF stretches like previously where we would do one side at a time and then we would do the other side separately. With this one, this would be great if you just want to get a quick release of the psoas major. You could incorporate this at the end of a training session or at the end of a treatment. You could do both sides at the same time. And with regard to this, the main things you're going to be hitting are the iliopsoas. You're hitting the psoas major and the iliacus. You're also going to be getting the rectus femoris because of the hip extension and the knee flexion. And then some other muscles that we're going to be hitting is going to be the sartorius, the tensor fasciae lati or TFL muscle, the pectineus, and also the adductor longus and brevis. And then some other muscles that we will be getting a stretch with this is going to be the gracilis, the anterior fibers of the adductor magnus, as well as the anterior fibers of both the gluteus medius and minimus. The reason this is so effective is because the psoas major, if you recall, it is responsible for flexion, lateral rotation, and adduction. So by bringing them into extension, abduction, and medial rotation, we are maximizing the amount of stretch that we can get in the psoas major. So if you have anybody that has a lot of restriction in the psoas major, definitely give this a try. It is absolutely phenomenal, but our rest period is way overdue. Time for set number 2. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.